Welcome to this latest episode of the Duncan Cartledge Online podcast, the online resource for construction professionals. Remember to subscribe through your usual podcast provider so you don't miss out on any of the updates, and be sure to visit our YouTube channel for additional content. Whether you're a quantity surveyor, construction or project manager, or any other construction professional, Duncan Cartledge Online offers more than 9 hours of video presentations available 24/7 for just £7 a month. I'll start by excusing my rather husky voice on this podcast. I'm suffering from a particularly bad case of man flu. So this podcast is brought to you courtesy of Lemsip. Other cold remedies are available. Happy New Year and welcome to 2026. It's great to have you with us again for another episode. As always, I'm joined by Barney, my red labrador, who helps keep an eye on things and occasionally offers some invaluable advice. Both Barney and I would be delighted if you could take a moment to write a review. Your feedback does mean a lot to us. If this is your first time listening to a Duncan Cartledge Online podcast, welcome. Please remember to subscribe and catch up with our previous episodes. To existing subscribers, thank you very much for your continued support. Please help us by spreading the word about the podcast. In a mega New Year episode, we will be looking at changes to the RICS APC assessment rules, goodbye Mothman, you will be missed, how much can you trust AI, read on, and inevitably, the year ahead, what does 2026 hold? So, let's start by having a look to changes to the RICS assessment rules. Starting on the 1st of January 2026, the number of times that candidates have to pass the RICS APC will be capped at 4. This is to encourage candidates to be better prepared instead of just racking up and hoping to pass. When I heard about this, I thought back to the 1970s and the days when the RICS still ran its own external exams. I used to teach a class in the evening of measurement at Thames Polytechnic in Hammersmith in London, preparing students for the RICS final Part 2 exam, which was the final step in qualification. Measurement, that's taking off quantities, was a standalone exam in the final set of exams. Part-time students who worked during the day had to attend for, believe it or not, 4 nights a week, Monday to Thursday from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m, with measurement on a Monday. The RIC exams had a fearsome reputation, with only a 30 to 40% in a good year passing. As a result, many candidates had to attempt the exams several times. The situation was made even worse because, as the men in suits at the RICS set and vetted their own exams, believe it or not, trick questions were not uncommon, as were questions with ambiguous wording, all in the name of restricting numbers, and light years away from the Sean Tompkinson era and the dash for world domination. I recall one year when the taking off question involved a post office hardwood letter sorting unit, the ones where the letters are sorted into little pigeonholes. The sorting units were set out on top of a hardwood cabinet, all finished off, of course, with brass fittings. And this was prior to the time when the units could be enumerated and referred to a bill diagram. Oh no, it had to be measured out in detail, piece by piece, under an appropriate heading. As I remember, during this period, the RICS Final Part 1 exam also included a paper on structures, where quantity surveyors were expected to design structural elements such as beams and columns. What were they thinking about? I recall one particular student in my class at Thames Polytechnic, let's call him George, not his real name, who was in his mid to late 20s and worked for his father's private practice and had been promised a partnership if only he could pass his RICS exams. Unfortunately for George, he was on his 6th attempt and could just not get over the line. As far as I can recall, there was no limit on the attempts at the time. The only limit was the candidate's stamina and ability to pay. Unfortunately, George's experience of multiple fails was not uncommon. You know, I sometimes wonder what's happened to George. I wonder if he ever made it. And while on the subjects of the RICS, it's nearly time for Mothman, aka Justin Sullivan, the step sideways president of the RICS, to flutter away. And you know, I'll miss him. The stand-in president for Mothman, Nick McLean, will now become the 2026 RICS president in his own right. What a farce and totally predictable. Note to the RICS. Could members see the findings of the regulatory review into the, quote, very complex Mothman case, please? Sorry, if you've not listened to these podcasts before, Mothman and I go back a long way. He's my favourite superhero. And now moving on to another one of my favourite topics, AI. Ask yourself this question. Just how much can you trust AI? Read on. Those who read my blogs or listen to my podcasts will know that I am no fan of the current AI hysteria. The latest estimates are that worldwide, $35 trillion was invested in AI in 2025. This week I came across an incident that makes me even more cynical. Anthropic, one of the big AI companies based in Los Angeles on the west coast of America, has reached an out-of-court settlement of $1.5 trillion for using copyrighted material to train its chatbot, Claude. If Anthropic had not settled and the case had gone to court, it is estimated the cost could have been considerable and potentially wiped them out financially. Anthropic took at least 5 million copies of books from the pirate website Genesis and at least 2 million copies from the pirate library Mirror to use to train their bot. Now, just think about this. If Anthropic can afford to pay $1.5 trillion in damages, it would seem to indicate that there's a lot of money to be made in AI, and makes me wonder which other organisations peddling AI expertise are using random pirated information to train their systems. There is a reason to think that some of the leaked information is an inside job by employees of the many typesetting companies used by the major publishing houses spread all over the world. But why are books important sources of data for the bots? Because books are, in essence, billions of skillfully crafted, copy-edited words, carefully strung together, and are needed to build the large language models that are behind AI chatbots like Anthropic's Claude and its chief rival, OpenAI ChatGPT. In the case of Anthropic, I have learned that 5 of my own books were used to train Claude, for which I have been promised to receive financial compensation in 2026. Well, we'll wait and see. I'm not holding my breath. Although I ask myself why Claude would be interested in building up unit rates for excavating a trench or pro-rata pricing for roofing tiles. It's a puddle, but who cares? Ka-ching! So next time you're in a conversation with a chatbot on your banking website and it gives you the latest all-in hourly rates for bricklayers instead of your balance, you'll know why. It is thought that Anthropic case could be a landmark US settlement and could mark a turning point in legal battles between AI companies and the writers, visual artists and other creative professionals who accuse them of copyright infringement, and is being described as the largest copyright recovery ever and the first of its kind in the AI era. I learned this week that other claims for damages are being filed in America for illegally downloaded copyrighted works against Meta and Google, to name but 2. Just watch this space. What's this got to do with surveyors? Worryingly, according to RICS Modus, some surveying expert witnesses are using ChatGPT to write substantive parts of their reports without reading through them to ensure it reflects their personal opinion. Not surprising, therefore, that last year there were 2 cases in which fake AI cases were cited in evidence before a court by expert witnesses. Could this be Mothman Mark II. It's unlike me to praise the RICS, but it's worth a reminder that a few months ago they published a very useful and timely practice note on the ethical use of AI by surveyors, and warns that the quality of AI output is only as good as the data that is fed. The Anthropic case just proves that AI is no silver bullet and should be treated with caution. In the UK, the government's position is that it will not force tech firms to disclose how they train their bots, which I think is a disgrace and a poorly disguised attempt to appease the tech giants and to throw authors like me to the wolves. I know it's a bit dramatic, but still. A recent roundtable meeting of tech experts organised by a building came up with the following 5 golden rules for the construction industry in relation to the adoption of AI. Number 1. AI only matters when it can solve real problems on site and improve daily delivery. Number 2. Structured, shareable data is the foundation of every successful AI or automation project. Isn't that the truth? 3. Cultural change will determine whether digital transformation sticks. 4. Collaboration counts. Shared platforms build trust. And finally, 5. The ultimate test is whether AI delivers measurable gains in time, cost and quality. Sounds like common sense to me. At the end of last year, there were again warnings from the States that the AI bubble is unsustainable. The massive investment so far has mainly failed to produce profits, with some forecasting global financial meltdown. But that's enough now for AI. I suspect it will be a constant theme throughout 2026. Now moving on to the almost inevitable prospects for 2026 and the construction industry. Reading through the endless articles in the media and press penned by construction luminaries on the prospects for 2026, it is apparent that opinions are mixed. If there is a consensus, it is that things have been so bad lately, particularly for house builders, where profits have been sharply down, that on a range of probabilities, things must get better. This is a worry, as the success of the construction industry seems to be at the heart of the government strategy to get the economy moving. A buoyant housing market depends on the C word, confidence, and right now it is in short supply. With economy showing anemic growth and employment rising, there is little appetite for house buyers to borrow and take upon more debt. For 12 months now, rumours of the return of a hybrid PFI model to fund infrastructure projects have been in the air. However, we're still waiting for a clear plan of attack on private finance, although it appears that the scope for the son of PFI is going to be limited to projects like neighbourhood health schemes. Government funding has been committed to setting up skills hubs to train 60,000 new construction workers by 2029, but I would be surprised if this initiative would produce the volume of skilled workers required to balance the numbers leaving. The number of workers in construction is lower than at any time in the last 100 years. On the subject of targets, we all know how easy it is to set them, 1.5 million homes for example, but hitting the target is another matter. This elephant in the room is not going away, and no matter how much money is committed to public works, it just won't get done if there are no workers, and the plan of recruiting an additional 1,400 planners by 2028 is no mean task either. That's assuming that there are 1,400 people out there who wish to become planners, which I doubt. November 2025 saw the republication, if that's the right word, of a book I wrote in the 1970s, would you believe, Cost Planning and Building Economics, in Routledge's Economics and Society list. I have to say that 50 years plus on from the original edition, it still looks pretty good. Although, with an £85 price tag compared to £3 for the original edition, I don't see it flying off the shelves. That's all for this episode. I hope you found it interesting and occasionally amusing. Thank you for listening right through to the end. Barney and I think your stamina is worth a major prize. Unfortunately, we don't have one, but we're working on it. This has been another episode from Duncan Cartledge Online. We'd really appreciate it if you would help by spreading the word and subscribing, and, if you have time, writing a review. Until next time, once again, wishing you good health and happiness for 2026. Thank you for your continued support. Take care, mind those bots, and low-flying Mothman, or should it be Mothman?